The khatir of tonight is about something I believe cannot be avoided, which is argumentation. Argument cannot be avoided, but destructive ones can be avoided. Argument in general, I believe it's impossible to say it can be avoided. You have to be in certain type of argument with your wife, with your husband, with your friends, with your at work. You will get and argue with the imam. You argue with somebody who you meet in the masjid. So argument is something cannot be avoided. But what can be avoided, the destructive one. This argument that can lead to destruction between a relation, to destruct the relationship between you and your children, you and your father, your parents, you and your spouse, you and your relative, you and your in-laws. So this is very important to remember this. It cannot be avoided, but the destructive one can be avoided. How can it be avoided? This is just few points. One, your opinion is not the truth. Just remember that. Any argument that you enter in it, remember, your opinion is not the truth. Some people, they cannot differentiate between opinion and facts. He talks about opinion as if it is the most factual thing ever exist on the face of the earth. And it's just your opinion, So make sure that you remember that. It's your opinion. As a husband, as a wife, as a children, as a father, as a friend, as employee, whatever area you are in. So your opinion is not the truth, is not the truth. Also, remember, resisting the temptation to prove your point will win you a lot of points. Resisting the temptation to prove your point in argument, it will win you in the end of the day so many points. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ called al-mira. Qala sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that there is a house in the basically in the lower level of Jannah, and this house في ضحضاح من الجنة أو في أدنى الجنة لمن ترك المراء ولو كان محقا. That the person leave al-mira, that you argue with someone and even though you have a point, you know that you have a point, but you know what, I resist to prove it just because I want to avoid any hard feeling. I can make my point later on. There is a lot of people they cannot resist this temptation of proving their point, And the problem, if you add to this of their point, always they think that they say all the truth. This guy said, he married his wife. So he said, I married Miss Right. But what I didn't know, that his first name was Always. Okay. He married to Miss White, right. So, but he didn't know that her first name is Always. So she's always right. Okay. Anyway, so basically, this is a problem, that I'm always right. I'm always basically correct. Also, anytime your argumentation or you have a dialogue with someone, you start getting angry, this gonna be destructive argumentation. Stop immediately. Anytime you start shouting, you're talking at each other, not to each other, that's the time to stop. This argumentation will lead to destruction. It will destroy the relationship. It will basically contribute to the destruction of your relationship with that person that you argue with. Anytime you start basically shouting, getting angry, using false language, you have no control over yourself. Immediately back off. That's the wrong argument. Back off. Remember that. Stop immediately. Stop immediately. Also, any time that you find that what you're arguing about is getting into so many other areas, that's the time to hit the brake. Like you talked to her about something, you're talking about coming to the Taraweeh. We're going to stay the whole time, or we're going to leave after the 4 rak'ah. Your wife told you, no, we like to stay the whole time. No, we don't need to get into argument. All of a sudden, she started, yes, but I remember last year when you promised me to get me this. Oh, and you remember that day when we start getting all the old stuff. you remember this and you remember that, and everybody pointing something from the history, this argumentation is going to the wrong direction. Hit the brake, turn away from this. This is a destructive argumentation. So if you lose focus, if you lose the point that you're talking about. You know, also I have another one for one of those married people. He said, but it leads for you to think about it a little bit. I told it to my daughters and they couldn't figure it out. But anyway, he said, this guy, I never mind that my wife will have the last word. In fact, I'm delighted when she gets into it, when she gets to it. He doesn't mind his wife has the last word, but please, this final word comes. And you want her to stop, you know, talking. What I'm trying to say, argumentation, if at this point, when argumentation starts taking very long time, this is a destructive one. It has to be short, sweet, and you make sure that your intention is right and your means of talking is also correct. جزاكم الله خير. صلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد.